Hi, guys. Welcome back to another 1107 in Dark. Today, we are talking about Beyonce's new album, Renaissance Act 1. And we're going to share our take, our opinions, our thoughts, and feelings on her new album. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get right on into this chat about Renaissance Act 1. I will say before we get started, this episode is going to be a little different. We're not going to listen to the music and then talk. We're going to just kind of like talk about the album because we've already listened to the album and share our thoughts and opinions on the recent drama that happened, as well as, just the overall of the album, songs that we liked, didn't like, and that kind of thing. So yeah, join us in this chat. Courtney, you want to share anything before we get into it?
Yeah, it's more like a follow-up to our episode last week where we just discussed our expectations for Beyonce coming back and our excitement for everything about Beyonce coming back with this new project. So this is much more, I would say, a review than us kind of jamming like we normally do with an 1107 in Dark. Us kind of jamming and going through each song and breaking down the music. This is almost an album review, so it's a special episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, do you want to? I think we should start off rip just talking about our overall initial thumbs up, thumbs down in between the album, since we've listened to all 17 tracks, I think, for Renaissance Act 1. 16 tracks. So, yay, nay.
I'm a nay. I'm a nay. But I have hope for the other 2 acts. So, and Beyonce did confirm that there will be 3 acts that she'll be releasing as a part of this project. So this act 1 is just a solid no for me overall. So
yeah.
What about you?
No, I get it. I think this is not my favorite Beyonce album. And I wouldn't call it a total nay, because I do like some of the lyrics of a couple of the songs. But I will say I felt I felt more distance from this album than I felt connected to her work. And I normally Beyonce's music to me is always something I feel really connected to for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why, even though most of her work is about being like, kind of like going out having fun, but she like makes it feel intimate as well. And this one I just felt sort of disconnected. And maybe it's a style of music.
Yeah. I think so too. And I was going to say it was just like not relatable for me. And I think also too, the sound was very like specific to one genre and or a specific type of people, right?
Yeah.
That's just not the type of music that I would normally listen to. When I think Beyonce usually, well, not even usually, on her past albums, to me, she had a variety of different genres that you could kind of get with. And she just didn't have that for me this album. So
yeah, I do think I mean, to her credit, I do like that she built an entire world with this album. Like she start top to bottom, you really know what the sound is. There is no major break in there. I mean, I think her song Plastic Off the Sofa, that's like the biggest break in my opinion from the rest of the sound. Yeah.
But I guess.
That one, because that one actually was almost more, that was closer to a ballad to me.
Yeah.
It was not totally a ballad, but it was closer to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like, so most of the other songs really sounded quite similar. So, I don't know, I mean, it's just, the biggest thing I can say is I wasn't as connected to it. And I think it is because it is very specific to house music and like ballroom culture. And if anybody doesn't know what ballroom culture is, that for a long time is like the underground kind of drag queen like gay male, male dominated, I would say mainly, though not always male. But they would go in like, Vogue and like that kind of underground scene. They would go in ballrooms and perform and have competitions. Like there's a really good documentary out about it. I forget. It's called Paris is Burning. If you ever seen Paris is Burning, you'll know what ballroom culture is. Really great documentary.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
the music she's making in this with this album tailored specifically to like ballroom culture, and I
Yeah.
think that is not that for people who don't exist in that lane. I do think that it's not what you would. I don't. It's not something you can relate to fully, and not that
Yeah,
it's
and
for
that's
Josh
what I'm saying. Like, I think it's
necessarily,
for a
but
specific group of people because it's like that's just not something your average Joe is necessarily listening to. Which I think, like, I mean, I guess all genres are kind of like that. But it's like if you know, like you can kind of mix R&B with like soul, R&B with like a little bit of pop. You can mix R&B with a multitude of things. And I mean, I'm assuming she probably mixed some elements of those into like house music, but it just like house music is very dominant, and so you can't even hear those notes really. It's like,
yeah,
so it's that's why I'm saying like it appeals to the girls, but that's about it.
yeah. Yeah, I think, and you know what? I mean, maybe that's what her intention is, like, to appeal to the girls. Like,
Mhm.
maybe that's what she wanted. And I'm like, I'm not mad at it from like a artist like taking a stance standpoint. I'm really not. Is it something I'm gonna be bumping the whole album to like the rest of the summer and into the fall and winter? Probably
Mhm.
not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Agreed.
For me personally. But as we all know, I'm R&B Beyonce. That's
Oh,
top tier
100%.
B for me. R&B, hip hop infusion Beyonce. That's the Beyonce I know. But then again, that could be isolating to someone who does participate in ballroom culture.
True.
So like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I
I mean the
guess
thing is like her name is on it, so she has the ability to cross over into a multitude of lanes, right, and still
yeah.
profit. And if it's not about profit, to still be successful. I know for me personally, I'm still gonna listen to Acts 2 and 3. Not gonna give up. Still a Beyonce supporter, but it's just this album just wasn't for me.
I think this album is something that I mean, she could have very much just made it specifically for the girls. I mean, I did hear that her somebody who was very close to her somebody she called Uncle Johnny,
Hmm.
um, who was her mom's either nephew or uncle or something, and she
Mhm.
called him Uncle Johnny growing up. But he had died from I want to say he died from something like AIDS, like back in the day. I want to,
Mm.
and obviously he was like a gay man, but he had helped. He had like made Beyonce's prom dress. He had like
Hmm.
been like kind of like a uncle type figure in her life growing up, and so I heard that the album was dedicated actually to him. So
Oh,
that actually gives me a little
got
like,
it. That
okay,
makes
I
more
know why
sense.
it's got this like house ballroom, type empower type message that they do use in the ballroom culture, because
Mhm.
maybe if it is something that was dedicated to him, she really laid that on thick because of this person who meant something in her life.
Yeah, okay, I see. It definitely says that she dedicated this album to her late gay uncle, Uncle Johnny.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so okay, well, like keeping that in mind, and it's like, okay, that I mean, if this is for him, then I get it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, I totally get it. That makes complete sense.
Yeah. When I learned that, I was like, this feels more the intentional, not that it wasn't intentional. This feels more like the Beyonce I think we know, which is to me, she's very intentional.
Hmm.
I don't feel like, even though she's not a conceptual artist and her
Hmm.
work doesn't have that like conceptual rigor to it a lot of times,
Hmm.
she has never moved without intention, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
And for
for sure.
that, I have to respect her, because so many artists move without intention. Even
Yeah.
really big acts move without intention. I'm going to be honest
Hmm.
with you. Or
Agreed.
the
Yeah,
intention is very cliche and it's just to make money. And I feel
for
like
sure.
Beyonce moves artistically in an intentional way, and
One
I
thousand
respect her
percent.
for that.
100. Yeah, everything she makes usually has some type of meaning, motive, whatever for her personally in her life, right? It's not just
Mhm.
because it's going to sell. There's something true to her with everything that she does.
Yeah.
And she, makes a note to make that very public as well too. So
Yeah.
now that I like understand the background a little bit more, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Makes
He was
complete
like,
sense.
kind of how like Uncle Charles was in our life.
Yeah.
That's how
Okay.
I think Uncle Johnny was to Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
Like, only obviously he was a gay man, so like that comes with a different culture or a different swag style, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so we don't know how influential he was in her life, and like maybe she was just like tributing to him because, like he said, he made her prom dress, he like made costumes and stuff for them, and he might have been a really big supporter and like, you know,
Yeah. Well, cool. That's good to know, though, because I feel like with a lot of things that Beyonce does, we don't get to know about it, especially her personal life. We just don't
mm,
hear about it. So it
mm,
definitely puts it into context, which is cool, to get like a better understanding of where she came from, how we got here, the music that she's creating, and all her music is meaningful to her in some way, somehow, whether
mm,
it relates to her life personally or someone that she knew. So that definitely just gives you a perspective with how we got to this work of art.
yeah. Well, I do think what's interesting to me now is like obviously we're seeing such a shift in Beyonce. Like I think she really is trying to align herself with more like, I mean, I don't want to say just serious artwork, but yeah, like she really is putting effort into being taken more seriously as an artist. Not in like a classical way, I think. Obviously, she's had popular and commercial success from just, single ladies and like Deja Vu. And like Beyonce can turn out a good club hit. No questions asked, right?
Yeah.
But I think now she's trying to, her and Jay-Z both are trying to associate themselves with this like higher art form, and they've been doing this for years now. Like Jay-Z wears his
Mm-hmm.
hair like Jean-Michel Basquiat, which if you guys don't know who that is,
Mm-hmm.
influential young black painter from the
Mm.
80s whose work sells actually for millions and millions of dollars. Like he's
Oh
in like
yeah, he's very
contemporary
well
art
known.
museums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Basquiat, very
Mm-hmm.
famous painter, and he's had this kind of like street, almost like hand
Mm-hmm.
sketch type style to him. But he was he
Yeah.
was labeled as like a creative genius, like in the 80s. And I feel like Jay-Z doing his hair like Basquiat, like just like
Mm-hmm.
half dreads just everywhere, right? And then
It's called freeform.
no, excuse me, sorry. Okay, I
Oh
know.
God,
Look, I'm natural. Okay, I have natural hair. So I wasn't trying. I don't know what to call it. I didn't know what the name
it's called
was.
freeform. Just
Freeform. I'm
so
educated
we're
now.
not getting roasted.
We're not getting roasted. Okay, because I know when I came out of my mouth, I didn't want it to sound like, oh, just like crazy hair. Like, because people already associate black hair as being like crazy and
Mm-hmm.
wild and unkept. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like, all I know to say is like, the dreads aren't totally dreaded. You know what I mean? That's
Well,
true.
it is like the hair is freeform because it's like locking on its own. The hair is doing
It's
what a
like,
hair
yeah,
wants to do, right?
it's like freeform,
So,
yeah. But that's
mm-hmm.
really associated with Jean-Michel Basquiat. Look up pictures of Basquiat.
Mm-hmm.
His hair is the exact same way.
Yeah.
And then even them, doing that song Ape-ish, where they shot in the Louvre and were like, they're like almost, it's kind of an appropriative artist thing. If you really get
Mm-hmm.
into like art history, they're taking these images of classical images and putting their selves up there as black people, as black billionaires, as successful black people. They're putting
Mm-hmm.
themselves up there and saying basically, this is our space too, or we can enter this space as well. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Spaces
Mm-hmm.
where they normally don't consider black people and black art to be, you know,
Hmm.
successful, or black art is not normally accepted in. Like the
Yeah.
Louvre in Paris. How many black paintings are in there? Probably,
Very few.
very few, if any. And
Mm-hmm.
then I mean, the same thing with her, like up on the horse. All of those are very classical images. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the horse image she's putting herself in, those are very
Yeah.
classical images. And like she keeps putting herself in these like Renaissance type like garb. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
the queen, and like kind of like Queen Anne, kind of like, King Henry era type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff, all of those are referencing classical times, which is referencing, or more like classical times. It's not totally classical, but it's referencing that like high art realm where we associate like luxury and money and status.
Mm-hmm.
So these are subtle little things that if you really know art history, you know what they're trying to do. And to me, when I see that, I'm like, this is clearly what they're like. They're trying to put themselves on the same level as like a Basquiat.
Yeah, I can see that though.
I think that's their new aesthetic. Like they've been doing that for years now.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely trying to like have this. I don't know if it's a complete crossover, but it's like an intertwining of conceptual art and music, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the healthy balance of that? Which they're both pretty good at. Like creating this, even like Beyonce with the previous one of her previous albums when she had like that visual art element to it. I
Uh-huh.
think that was the Beyonce album, but the entire album had a music video. So it's that idea between conceptual art and I guess you can call it a music video, but it's pretty more conceptual art in that realm,
Yeah.
being that everything has a music video and releasing that as its own independent work of art, and then the album itself.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah,
I just
definitely.
think I think this is what I think seriously is like they didn't have the art school experience, like the art kid experience before they became successful popular artists. Like, you know what I mean? Like the difference between like a Beyonce is like and someone who just goes to art school is in art school, you have that kind of like experimental type phase while you're in
Hmm.
school.
Hmm.
And not that your art has to become more streamlined as you get older, but like that stuff you experience at like 22, 23 when you're in college and nobody sees your work, you know?
Hmm.
And they're almost like doing it backwards, I feel like,
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
didn't have an art school experience. They just went straight from in their young adulthood, they became incredibly popular artists. And so I
very
think for a
true.
long time they were selling what was popular, and that's cliche. They were selling cliche. And I hate to say it, I do think that because they are so popular, sometimes their work is missing the conceptual rigor behind it. It uses the aesthetics of high value art or high end art, but
Hmm.
it's not necessarily having the same conceptual rigor behind it. Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, because I think, I mean, I agree with that because it's not solely conceptual art.
Yeah,
And they're not necessarily conceptual artists, right?
that's
They may
true.
have those individuals on their team, but I think that's the fine line. Is like finding that happy medium for them. Is where do you where's the healthy balance? Because at the end of the day, they are artists, right? And they are
Uh-huh.
known for their artistry, right? They're not known, and I'm talking about artistry in the music realm. They're not known for being conceptual artists, and I don't think they could do that solely and be as profitable, right? So
Yeah,
I don't think they're trying to be conceptual artists. They're just trying to be expand their music artistry into a different realm, which they've been very successful in doing. Honestly, Beyonce has
yeah.
especially.
I mean, I think the only person who could potentially get hit out of it is like the people who are actually conceptual artists who do struggle, because that's normally where a conceptual artist is like I don't say struggle, but like conceptual artists typically don't have this kind of resources that somebody like Beyonce has. Typically, now there are some incredibly successful conceptual artists out there who are
Mhm.
incredibly wealthy, but I think what the issue becomes when you take the aesthetic of something and you put the aesthetic on, but it's lacking the substance behind it
Well,
because the
I don't
aesthetic
agree
looks
though.
good.
I don't agree because I don't think they're trying to be solely a conceptual artist. And at the end of the day, their conceptual art is linked to music, and it has to be really because I don't think they would be as successful without it, right?
Yeah,
So to me, I don't really see that as a threat to conceptual artists because conceptual artists are only making that conceptual art versus Beyonce is making this in relation to her music. It's attached to the music. That is the reason why um, it is has been beneficial because it's a link to her music and that's what she's known for, right? If it did not have that
yeah.
music element, I think it would be successful, but it may not be as popular because everything you see Beyonce does is linked to music some way, same somehow. Everything.
I'm not saying that she should change. She shouldn't change her artistic form. I'm saying what often happens is it's the same thing as a bigger artist taking the look or the sound of a smaller artist, and then taking it, morphing it into what they think will be more profitable, and then them profiting off of the aesthetic that they didn't create. That's what I'm saying. I think they run the risk of getting lost in that.
But I mean, the aesthetic for conceptual art versus aesthetic of making a music video.
But I'm saying though, okay, look, if you look at Beyonce's Lemonade album, there is an artist right now whose art has never gotten the same level of play that Beyonce has. The Hold Up video, she goes around and uses a baseball bat to slash in windows, all right? A conceptual artist from the 90s named Pipolati Wrist, I think she's from like Sweden. She's actually a famous conceptual artist. Did the same thing in a video art piece where she took a flower, like oversized flower, and was like going down the street beating people's cars in. This was in the 90s. So Beyonce took that aesthetic, morphed it, took a baseball bat instead, and was going down the street smashing in people's, like when you compare those videos side by side, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. But
that's what I mean. Like, it's because hers is attached to music. That is what's selling. Like, if you didn't even ever see the video,
that's but she took the aesthetics from somebody else. She took the aesthetic from somebody else, and Pipolati Wrist will never have the same, unfortunately, play, because you can only see Pipolati Wrist seriously in art museums. You can only see her in like, they had a show out here in Los Angeles. They had her in like, I want to say Mocha, which is the modern one of the like museums here, and they had her in maybe even the Hammer Museum, but you can only see that in an art context. Not that Beyonce, like, obviously Beyonce's work is not probably being played in like a museum, but it's like she took almost the exact same like look of her video from the 90s and like used it in her work.
Yeah, I guess.
Look up that video I'm talking about. The artist's name is Pipolati Wrist, and then look up the Hold Up video.
Okay, I'll look at it after.
Because you'll be like, no, this is straight ripped off of it. That's the issue I think Beyonce and Jay-Z run into, is because they don't have the conceptual rigor, meaning the substance behind it, or what it takes to be a conceptual artist is that's the originality of it, is because you're taking something that isn't exactly like, you're taking just aesthetics and you're using the concept to make the work. So it's always original. Versus when you take just the straight up, you take the look of something or you take the sound of something and then use it to make something else, that becomes appropriation. And that's why I consider Beyonce actually more of an appropriative artist than we give her credit for, because she takes a lot that other people have made and then it expands it or turns it into something different or uses it for a different task.
I even need to do more research into that.
I mean, a conceptual artist is looking at the concept itself. Like, what am I trying to say through this artwork? If I'm trying to say something about, gender or politics or whatever, I make artwork. The artwork is derived from that idea.
But that's what I'm saying. Who's to say she did not get that idea? You know how many people are walking around with a bat, smashing stuff in? People do that on a regular, let alone for conceptual art.
Look at the videos. You tell me what you think.
Okay, I'll look at it after.
Look at the videos, because it's a little too close to the video to be like, she just came up with that on her own.
Okay, all right. So I did find the article where she's talking about her Uncle Johnny, and so basically, Beyonce, in one of the songs, apparently she is heard saying Uncle Johnny made her dress. And so Johnny is who introduced her and Solange to house music, which gives some more context into this
He's probably part of ballroom culture. He probably did go to ballrooms.
Yeah, probably, because he was apparently he was fully aware and loved house music, so I'm sure he definitely was a part of that underground culture. So.
Yeah, and also in like the 80s, 90s, when they would have been coming up, that was like even bigger then. It was probably even more underground. That documentary I was telling you about, Paris is Burning, That documentary is set, I think, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Really good documentary. That was the first time I learned about ballroom culture, and that was the first time I realized that a lot of the terms we use now, like queen and yes and girl and all that comes from
that
gay culture.
Yeah.
And I actually felt kind of disgusted because I was like, so we're just gonna not acknowledge that this comes from gay ballroom culture.
Yeah. Even how you say it, yes, you know what I mean? Like, come on now.
Yeah, for
You have
sure.
to know that.
Exactly.
Beyonce was also quoted saying in one of her captions that Johnny was the closest human being in the world to her, and they were inseparable growing up. So later on in his life, in Beyonce's, he was her nanny, housekeeper, designer, dance partner, and her confidant, aka her bestie. So she.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I mean, but it doesn't surprise me. Beyonce's very like.
Yeah, and that would actually really explain why she really went all in. It was like, I'm doing 16 tracks
Exactly.
of
So I mean, he
house.
was obviously somebody really important to her.
I didn't realize. I don't know why I assumed that he lived until, or that he had passed away when she was young. But if he had, if he became a housekeeper, confidant, and bestie, then he really must have seen her success.
Okay, so I misread this. It's not Beyonce. It's Tina. It's Tina.
Okay, Tina.
So Tina wrote that in her caption, and he was in those things for her. So that's how he was able to influence Beyonce and Solange.
Gotcha.
But that's enough said too. So
yeah,
that's cool. All right, so I'm going to read off just like the list of the songs, and then we can share our thoughts on like what we thought was, good, bad, whatever. So obviously this is Renaissance Act 1, and hopefully we will get to hear Acts 2 and 3 pretty soon. We come in with the first song, I'm That Girl. Number 2 is called Cozy. Number 3 is called Alien Superstar. 4 is Cuff It. 5 is Energy. 6 is Break My Soul. 7 is Church Girl. 8 is Plastic Off the Sofa. 9 is Virgo's Groove. 10 is Move. 11 is Heat. 12 is Thick with a Q. 13 is All Up in Your Mind. 14, America Has a Problem. 15 is Pure/Honey. And 16 is Summer Renaissance. So that's the list of the album. So Courtney, do you have any favorite songs?
I like Church Girl. I think that's the next single coming off of it. I really think that's the next single coming off the album. People are talking about that one a lot. I think Cuff It, and then
I think
maybe
Move.
like Move. Yeah, I think out of that, it'll be that little group of songs. If not, maybe Plastic Off the Sofa. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But those are the ones I'm hearing the most, especially Church Girl. I do think people really are gonna. That was the one I immediately gravitated to on the album. So I think Church Girl will definitely. I thought she was gonna sing a little bit more on that one, but she turned it very much into like almost a Meg Thee Stallion type song.
A rapper? Like the whole album?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also a little perplexed by that too, because I was like, where's the vocals?
Right.
Which I think, also the genre too. Like the genre, it kind of takes over. It can be overpowering. So it's hard to hear like vocals if they were there, I'm sure. So
yeah, the vocals probably aren't there anymore. I mean, well, not anymore, sorry. But in house music, I don't think they focus on vocals the same way. It's more like it's more like talk, at least sort of like demonstrative, like I'm this, I'm that, we're doing this. Well, it's more like a speaking and affirmation type tone that I think is usually in house music versus an R&B track is very sing-songy,
For sure. I definitely think in the context of like house music, she definitely gave,
yeah.
With the house music.
This is a classic for house for house, I think. I think this is a new classic for house music. I don't think that so that's why I don't consider it a total like, dub for me. I think it's like, I think it's a genre, and it's who she wanted to direct it to,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. 100%. Yeah. She
I've
definitely
never
had a
been to a
target
ballroom.
audience in mind. So
Yeah, I've never been to a ballroom, so I wouldn't know. And I'm like, I do think though that what I know about the culture, I think they would jam to this. This would really, I think they're playing it now.
yeah,
you know.
yeah, for sure.
So, and then something else I think too, which is interesting, is like I think house music and ballroom music, a lot of times I think they end up remixing so much of the music because nobody makes specific, or not a lot of people, excuse me, I don't want to say nobody. Not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people make specific like ballroom culture type music, like Big
True.
Frida type music.
Mm-hmm.
So there aren't that many artists who really put out a specific genre for that lane. And so maybe
Yeah,
Beyonce was like, let me give them something that's like for this lane. Because a lot of
for
times I
sure.
think house music ends up being remixes and a DJ sort of thing where they're like
For sure.
taking something that's popular and making it their own. But
Yeah, yeah,
Beyonce
yeah.
was like, let's give them something that is their own, that they don't have to like
Mm-hmm.
remix.
Yeah, that could have been the vibe for sure.
Yeah. Which is it's actually
Um,
kind of that's really actually an artist taking a stance and saying like this is missing from
yeah.
what I see and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna make something.
Yeah, I mean, in her last couple of albums, she's really been doing that, like taking that stance and really trying to like pave the way almost.
Mm-hmm.
So I can like see her doing that because, like I said, like you said earlier, Beyonce doesn't, and she's not too. And usually, most things in her creations have some type of meaning and or bigger purpose. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
for just because I want to make a dollar. Like she has millions,
Yeah.
billions. So it's really not because I need to make a bunch of money, which I'm sure that helps. But um, she has the resources and the abilities to be like, you know what, I'm gonna maybe provide this group of people something, and she doesn't have to lose anything in that because people are going to support regardless. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know what I think would be great for her to do with like taking some of the proceeds from the album and donating to like LGBTQ places or
yeah.
different, organizations and things like that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
would be fantastic. And like,
Mm-hmm.
something else we gotta consider too is Beyonce is actually a multi-decade she's in a multi-decade career at this point.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we think Beyonce is still like uber early in her career or something, and like she's like needs to play by the rules or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Beyonce has been in the game before the game changed. Actually, like she's been here since the late '90s,
Mm-hmm.
so she's been at least 20 years, 20, 25 years, at least as long as
Yeah.
we've been alive. You
Yeah. I
know,
think her first album was in like 2000 and her first single album was like 2006,
yeah.
something like that. So I mean, she's been in the game for a minute.
And she's vocally, I mean, in her career she's also been in groups, so she has honestly paid her dues to get to the point where she really doesn't have to put things out that make everybody feel good.
Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm.
And it's never an artist's responsibility to make someone else feel good either,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever level you're on. But I think for this one, she probably just was like, you know what, I'm gonna put it out. It's a part of a 3-part series
Mm-hmm.
of work for me.
Yeah.
If this album isn't, a fan favorite, like I put it out because I wanted it to. She has the resources to do it at this point. She's got the name. She's, she owns the material. That I mean, it was like, really, why would she? She had no reason not to do what she wanted to do.
Very true.
Besides, unless if the only reason she would, make more, I guess, popular or more cliche type music is if she really was just trying to appeal to the masses.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
And maybe that wasn't her intention.
I don't think so. I mean, I really do think it was to like a tribute. You know what I mean? And it seems like she was very intent on making sure that this genre of music and of individuals that enjoy that genre of music has something to listen to, something they can call their own.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's actually the theory, but that's the theory that I'm going to run with, and I like that theory. So,
Hmm. I think even if, I don't think Beyonce would, protest that theory. I'm sure
no,
it's part
probably
of it. I
not.
mean, she might have other reasons too, but And for all we know, Beyonce could really enjoy house music. We don't know. We really don't know.
Very true.
I mean, think about even the old, some of the old 1107s we've done. Think about the nostalgia we have with something like electro funk, that we really only knew that genre because of a relation or a parent, right? Or somebody early in our childhood. That could be the same thing with Beyonce and Solange. Like, maybe they really knew about house music because of their Uncle Johnny, and that has a really strong nostalgic feeling for them. Strong enough for her to make work about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Very true. Yeah.
So I don't consider this a whole. This like I don't even consider it a misstep. Actually, it's just it might not be for me, and maybe it wasn't made for me. Like, you know, that's also something to consider. Is like a lot of times when artists put things out, if it doesn't immediately resonate with somebody, a lot of times it's like, well, were you the intended audience?
Probably not.
Yeah. Like, I think something that happens to me actually more is happening more now is like whenever I was like screening Clout over the summer and somebody asked me, they were like, well, when are you going to make something that has a happy ending? And then it really hit me then. And I was like, some people watch your stuff, the stuff you put your blood, sweat, and tears into, so that they feel good about what you made when they didn't make anything. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with like the person who made that comment, because I'm sure it came from a genuine place, but it just showed me like there's a level of like entitlement people have when they're consuming art. They feel like they should feel good about it. And it's like sometimes it's never the artist's responsibility to make you feel good. Really, their only responsibility is to
consume it if you want. If you don't,
put something together that is the only responsibility is to make something ethical, I think, to make something that is hopefully benefiting the world in some way, not tearing it down. That's what I think. It's really only the artist's responsibility.
I don't even think that's your responsibility. And the reason why I don't think that is because that art is true to you, right? You, whatever meaning you find in that is what you find in that. And you happen to share that with the masses, right? But as far as like, you know, influencing the world, that is your job and your parents' job to influence themselves and their children. If you leave it up to the world, that's on you.
Yeah.
Well, so it's not even your job to make sure that it's ethical, quote unquote.
Well, what I mean by ethical is I say ethical because that's kind of the catch-all term for me, meaning you don't put something out in the world that hurts others or yourself. That's what I mean by ethical.
I mean, I agree, but I think even when you bring, you know, ethical things into question, right? You know, maybe that's just how they want to express their art, period. Whether it's ethical or not, right? And it really, let's be honest here, ethics is based off your perception of what is ethical and what is not. So
yeah, that's true. You're right. So maybe they don't have a response. I mean, I guess I say that because I don't want people to put out artwork being like kill babies, like, you know, like, or like murder people, like, because people will be like, well, it's my ethics, or like, you know what I mean? And like people have done that in the past, and it's like, okay.
Not I agree, but I mean, you make movies about people getting killed, so it's the same thing.
Oh, okay. I don't like that. That had a very specific purpose.
I know, but what I'm saying is like those things, whether in your face obnoxiously or subtle, those things already happen. So it is not your job to tell somebody in a movie, oh, this is what you should or should not do. First of all, we are adults. You have to be responsible for you and your actions.
Yeah.
So it's no one else's job. You have to be accountable, as well as be aware of your stance on things. And, you know, say you do something that you think is ethical that's maybe not ethical in the eyes of the law, then you just know you need to prepare to do some time.
Yeah. Yeah, because then that gets into the, well, okay, I want to clear up. I don't just make movies about killing people, okay? That was like...
I don't think you have anything about killing anybody.
No, I mean, what you said was like, you only make movies about killing people. And I'm like...
No, that was the example.
Yeah, no, I don't... Actually, yeah, my movies actually are about killing people anyways. But actually, speaking of ethics, you could get into the R. Kelly thing because...
Yeah, exactly.
Technically, I mean, he was making music that people were jamming to, but obviously he was making music to live this very unethical lifestyle. And that's what I mean. Like, as an artist, I think your only responsibility is to be an ethical person.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. Because to him, that was like, this is okay. but to the masses, it's like, what are you doing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So then, I mean, especially like in the eyes of for example, like men, if you have to question, if you have to ask the question, how old are you? You know what I mean? And they're like, I'm 16. You're like, maybe I shouldn't. You know what I mean? If you have to
Yeah.
get to that conversation, then you already know you're wrong, but then you continue to do it. R. Kelly didn't have to tell you that, you
Yeah.
know? Obviously he was, preaching the other side of that, but R. Kelly doesn't have to preach you that. You should know that,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Like, it is nobody's responsibility. These things are not, it doesn't take
yeah.
a
Maybe the
genius.
artist doesn't have any responsibility other than to make something that they feel proud of.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with the industry as a whole. Anyway, is that you feel entitled that they have to, be ethical. They have to teach you something. You have to get something good from it. You have to get something out of somebody else's work, right?
Work, yeah.
When that is not even about that at all. The artist doesn't.
Yeah.
While I mean, you're in the business of kind of like pleasing people, and that's a double-edged sword in itself. At the same time, you're doing this because this makes you happy. This is satisfying for you. This is,
Yeah.
maybe your calling or whatever the case may be. Not because I'm doing this for somebody else. Then what's the point?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I guess my issue is not really with the artist, it's with the audience feeling like they or the audience expectation that they should have some sort of positive, that they should be able to almost claim the work as their own, like the artist is only making this to please you. And I think that and especially in America, so much of our culture is that like the customer is always right type thing. And I think that's a very problematic place to be in if you're an artist only looking to please people.
Oh, 100%. You're
You
no longer
know,
an artist. You're a servant.
yeah, at that point, because then they're looking at them as like you might as well be like a court jester, not actually somebody engaged with artwork or
Yeah, yeah.
creating things. You know,
Like, don't even bother.
and there's a lot of people who really think artwork is only made to like either please them, and that's why when that comment came up, someone mentioned that, I was like, it made me think immediately. I didn't even say anything, but it made me think, and I was like, nothing I make ever has to have a happy ending. And if the world I'm living in, I see the happy ending doesn't serve my work, I'm not putting a happy ending in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like everything that doesn't have a happy ending. And sometimes it's important to recognize that it isn't a happy ending. You know what I
for
mean?
sure. Yeah, and that's fair.
And
And
that's
that's a true
fair.
life experience. Not
It's a true
everything in
life
life is
experience.
happy.
And, like I said, I want as many people, same thing with Beyonce, she wants as many people to look at her work and appreciate it as possible. But if for whatever reason you can't get past, it don't have a happy ending or it doesn't have the sound you want, then this
Use
ain't
your
for
ears.
you. Yeah, it's not for you, And I think too much, like I was saying, too much in America, we feel like if an artist, especially a big entertainer like Beyonce, makes something, that I should enjoy it.
Yeah,
And that's what's most important out of it. And it's like, actually, but you're buying tickets to a show that you aren't invited to.
exactly.
You don't have to enjoy
Exactly.
anything, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it was like
All
crashing
right.
a party
So,
and expecting it to be the time of your life. Like you crashed,
mm-hmm,
you know?
for sure. All right.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna get into the the Kellis drama.
Oh, yeah. We should
Oof.
debrief on that a little bit. Like, do people
Yeah,
know kind of what happened?
I know.
So basically, what happened was Beyonce sampled a song from Kelly's. If you don't know, she sings "Milkshake." "My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard," and they're like, "It's better than yours." You've heard that song, I know you have.
Oh yes.
So yeah, so Kellis is from that song, and so Beyonce sampled one of Kellis's songs.
So okay,
On
let's
her album.
rephrase that because she didn't sample Kellis's song. It's not Kellis's song. Kellis is the singer on that
The
song.
vocalist on the song.
She does the vocals, but the song belongs to the Neptunes, which
Yes,
is Pharrell's group that he had back in the day.
and Kellis was a part of it.
So, and Kellis was a part of it, but she's just the vocalist. She is not the producer. Even on the album itself, where she released that track, she is not known as anything but the vocalist. Okay.
Yes.
She
Okay,
didn't
that's
even
an
write
important
the
distinction.
lyrics. That's important. She did not
Yes,
even write
important.
the lyrics to this
This song.
song. So I do want
Yeah.
to make that correction because it gets into what we're talking about later.
Yeah. So okay. So I was saying Kellis' song because that's what most people associate when they associate songs with singers, and that's not there's a lot that goes into it. So she actually sampled a song from the Neptunes. That's what Beyonce sampled. And Kellis was the featured vocalist, was the vocalist on it. Okay, so that's important to know. And so Kellis was upset about it because she's saying, this is my song. Claiming that the song that Beyonce sampled was her song and that she didn't receive a call from Beyonce. She didn't receive, like, I guess what she felt should have been the proper way of asking to borrow her song and put on her song. But the drama, I mean, and that's really the drama because she went on the internet and was like, Beyonce stealing music, and she just made it out to be like Beyonce was like a thief, like Beyonce was really just, stole the music, didn't ask, and like totally ignored copyright laws and all that. And so that was the drama, and obviously Beyonce doesn't respond to that because
amen to Beyonce being the bigger person.
Right, Beyonce does not respond to that, clearly. And so yeah, but that was really, and I think it's been going on for a couple of days. Like she makes videos and whatever about it, and like obviously everyone just, the Beehive shuts her down very quickly, and I love it.
Everybody ignores her.
Because to be honest, like we were just saying, and what Catelyn clarified, the Neptunes own the song, right? Not Kellis. So Beyonce cleared the song, had her lawyers reach out, clear the song to use it in her album, the proper channels.
Exactly.
So Kellis was feeling obviously slighted somehow. However, Kellis does not own the music, so there's no way Beyonce could have infringed on copyright for something Kellis does not own. You see what I'm saying? That's like you getting mad that somebody stole your neighbor's car, when in fact you don't know if they stole it or if they just purchased it the legal way.
Exactly.
Like, what are you mad about? It's not yours. You know what I mean? It's like, it's definitely Karen behavior. It's like, this has nothing to do with you and you're angry about it for what? You know? But yeah, so that's kind of the rundown. But what do you think about this situation?
I think it is Kellis. Just take several 10 times over several seats, because first of all, you do not own the song. So let's be honest, Beyonce went to the proper channels because she reached out to the Neptunes, clearly, or it would not be on the CD, right? She didn't have to contact Kellis because let's be honest, if she is just the singer, because she didn't even write the lyrics, then she's technically sampling the song too, right? Okay. So it's just like, first of all, you should humble yourself, right? Beyonce that could have been a marketing tool. Like, she is like the pinnacle of the art industry, music industry right now. You know, her and Jay-Z, they're top of the food chain, right? So to me, that would have been an honor to allow her to use sample my song, and then maybe be like, you know what, Beyonce, use my song, thanks, girl. You know what I mean? Like, reminds me of Milkshake or something like that. Bring some more attention to your music, get you popping back again. Because when was your last hit? Okay, so it's just like, ma'am. And then like she's talking about how it wasn't even sampling; it's called interpolation. Like, she literally sampled the beat, nothing else. Nothing else. Which I listened to the song and I didn't even hear any notes of Milkshake. I mean, like, I was like, where? Like, I literally listened to the album, saw that on social media, and I was like, what song? What song? I could not have told you unless I like listened to it side by side when I saw something on TikTok about it.
I actually think interpolation is slightly more subtle than sampling is, because sampling, I think, is more like taking something directly. It's like the difference between paraphrasing and a direct quotation. Like, a direct quotation would be sampling, and then interpolation is paraphrasing, which is an even subtler form. So it's like she really didn't even necessarily like steal in the way you're like acting like she stole.
Yeah.
And she still cleared even for the interpolation. So
and I was gonna say, like, and like I said, like, like you said, I mean, Kellis said that it was interpolation, which, you know, and I guess that's a bigger deal to her. To me, I don't think either one's a big deal, because Beyonce went to the proper channels, right? She just didn't tell Kellis, which she didn't have to do that for Kellis. You know, sure, that would that have been nice, sure, and would that provide Kellis, I guess, some peace of mind or whatever, but she didn't owe that to you at all. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she didn't call Pharrell and tell Pharrell either, and she probably got her lawyers to call Pharrell, like, It's like, and to me, it's nothing personal. It's a business move. That's all artists sample, all of them, every single one. I have never met an artist that doesn't.
I have a definition of interpolation, which is the insertion of something of a different nature into something else. So again, she altered it significantly, which actually she might not have even needed to clear it. I'm sure she did. But if you alter things enough, you actually can't even make copyright claims, because if you alter something, well, I know for film terms, if you alter something enough, then it's considered like derivative work, which is not the same as a copyright infringement. So actually on two ends, Beyonce would have probably been okay, because even if she didn't have her lawyers clear it, if she interpolated it enough,
which, like I said, you can't even tell that song's a part of it.
If she changed it enough, they would have been like, I mean, this is a different,
different track.
And really the big thing is with copyright is if she was trying to take something of yours and sell it as her own, that's really where they try to get people for copyright. Is when you mess up with the trade of it all, the market, when you're trying to interfere with the market by using someone else's image or someone else's logo or trademark to market your own material, market their material as your own. So if Beyonce didn't market this as her own, she interpolated and she got her lawyers to clear it, you really don't have anything to stand on but like your ego. Here.
Exactly. And here's the thing. So I'm looking at the credits for that particular song. She gives credit to the Neptune.
She gives credit, which she probably artist. Didn't have to necessarily, I mean, depending on the contract or whatever, she might not even necessarily had to give credit.
Exactly. But she did. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm like so confused, because it's like, when I tell you this song, so the song that she apparently, sampled this milkshake, I'm not even gonna say milkshake because it really is just a beat, right? What's called Energy, so track number 5 on the album. But she gives the credit to the Neptune. So Pharrell, and the other guy's name is Chad Hugo, who ended up writing Milkshake in the first place, right? Which, I mean, I'm assuming she went through the legal ways because, like, they're on here, you know what I mean? She gave him credit. But she doesn't use anything from Kellis. Is it Kellis or is it Kelly's?
I don't know. I say Kellis.
Oh, me too.
But I feel like it might be Khalees. I don't know.
She's so irrelevant.
This was an opportunity for her to step in and shine in Beyonce's light, and then she chose to stand in the darkness.
Yeah, like but like, maybe y'all could have did like a cute little like milkshake. Well, say Beyonce goes on tour, do like a milkshake turn into Energy kind of vibe as like a remix. Like that would have been a smart. But instead, you're over here dogging Beyonce, which Beyonce's not going to interact with you. If anything, Beyonce's going to hand you a defamation suit. You will never come into contact with her and keep on moving. Like, what? You really look desperate. And it just goes to show you the level of unsuccess that you have and the reason why you're there. It's giving ungrateful.
Yeah, it's giving ungrateful.
Like, it really is. And the thing is, like, Beyonce is somebody that everybody wants to work with. That could have been your opportunity.
Yeah. And I also think, here's the thing too, like, honestly, even if Beyonce had contacted Kellis, like, Kellis still could not have given her the copyright. She still would have had to go through the Neptunes or the Neptunes label and contact them for the rights to the music. So, like, even if Beyonce had called you, you wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Yeah. Apparently, Kellis has been noted for saying, like, it's just common decency. But Beyonce didn't owe you anything. Beyonce doesn't owe you common decency.
Common decency. I mean, I get that, but I really think that's out of... And nobody owes you common decency.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Nobody owes you a kiss on the butt because you feel some way. That's you, boo. If you feel that way, that's on you. You're responsible for you and your feelings.
I mean, it would have been cool. It just sounds like she's, like, hurt that, like, the cool girl thing. It's like high school. Yeah. Like the cool girl, like, didn't acknowledge her at like the pep rally or something.
Yeah, like this is giving real high school for sure.
Go on a smear campaign. It feels like, why do you want that validation so bad?
Exactly. Because
And
that one
honestly,
hit was
she could have
that was
taken it
your one
upon
hit.
herself. Yeah, I think it would have been really cool if she took it upon herself to be like, "Hey, babe, I know, I see that you did this. That's so cool, girl. Love that you did that." And maybe you would put yourself on Beyonce's radar to be like, bring her back, or shoot, you might even get a feature or a collab out of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she was even like,
Like, you want
being
Beyonce in
quoted
your
for
corner,
facts. She was even
like,
quoted like calling out the Neptunes too, saying like the Neptunes should have known better. They should have called her directly. You did not own the song. The
yeah,
Neptunes even owe you nothing. Like, what do you
yeah,
not understand? And my thing is, Kellis has been in this business for years,
mhm,
years. So you should know how this works.
exactly.
If you're signed to a record label, they own that song, whether your vocals are on it or not. You're just doing them a solid. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
ain't
you
it had
almost
nothing to
like,
do with you.
it's honestly like paid. You hate to say it, but the way that it works is like you're the paid performer. You're
Mm-hmm.
the act that is performing this song, but they own the intellectual property or rights to it. They're not necessarily singing it, but you're almost like a contract performer. It's like if I'm throwing a I don't know. I guess it's like, I hate to say it, but it's like if I'm throwing a birthday party, you're the like clown I hired for the kids event.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
It's this that. It's
we
literally
signed
a
a contract with you,
transaction.
you perform, but you don't like you don't
You don't
have
get
any say
anything
so
from it.
over the party. Like
Yeah.
you do your job and then like leave.
It's like being
And
paid for a service. That's it.
yeah, they're almost like being paid for a service. And I think the record industry is like predatory in a lot of ways. And that's a valid concern that I think Kellis could bring up in this conversation. Like,
Hmm.
if that is how the contracts and stuff have been written. But
But then
don't
Beyonce is not
blame
your
Beyonce.
target.
Yeah, don't blame Beyonce for playing by the rules that was handed to her as well.
Yeah, and even
You
the
know?
Neptunes though, because you signed that. You whether she was with a record label or not, or whether she was with the Neptunes or whatever the case may have been, even the credits on the album say who gets what.
Exactly.
You don't even get all you get is you were a performer. That's all you get. So stay in the performer's lane. This is like the side piece trying to come in and be like, oh, I'm the main B all of a sudden. You're not. You're the side
You're
piece. Stay in
not.
the side piece lane.
Yeah, I mean, in this, I think that's what's important about owning your own materials. Like, this would be actually a different conversation if
Yeah.
Kellis genuinely owned that material and Beyonce like took it and didn't ask her. That would be
Which I don't think Beyonce would ever do.
I don't think Beyonce would do it. I think if Kellis really did own it, Beyonce would have gone to Kellis and gotten it figured
Exactly.
out. I think Beyonce didn't have to go to Kellis because Kellis is so like third party in this situation that it's
Exactly.
like, why would she do that? Not to mention Beyonce isn't making these calls herself. Beyonce's lawyers are making these calls. Okay,
Exactly.
so Beyonce is
And
not picking up the phone to call anybody that she's sampling.
exactly. And here's another
More than
thing
likely,
that
Beyonce is
Kellis,
not doing that
sure, it would have
herself.
been reaching out to Kellis would have been a formality, sure, whatever. But
Yeah,
like you said earlier, Kellis could have not given the official okay, so it would have been pointless. Besides
exactly.
kissing her butt and making her feel good, you know what I mean? I feel
Yeah,
like Kellis just wants the attention because it's like, oh, I did milkshake. But let's be honest, baby girl, a lot of people don't even know that you are on that song.
yeah,
I asked somebody today, I was like, you know who Kellis is, the girl that writes My Milkshake Brings, and she was like, oh, I didn't know that was her. I was like, yeah, exactly. That's my point. It's
yeah.
such a non-factor that it's like,
You hate to say it, she's almost like a glorified one-hit wonder. I mean, people do know
yeah, she
milkshakes,
is.
but I do think that she's almost a glorified one-hit wonder, and it's like you have to know where you're at this point in your life or
For
in your
sure.
career. And that's not to say you can't evolve and grow and become
Yeah.
something
But then
more
bring
than
me a
what
hit,
you are.
please. Thank you.
But recognize where you're at and don't bite
The
the hand.
hand that's
Try to bite the
feeding.
hand that's feeding. Like somebody who can give you a leg up. Because to me, Beyonce is the first one to be like, how can I bring out so and so? How can I
Yes,
like that's what you want in your corner.
exactly.
And
Beyonce
honestly,
is always like giving the dues. Like she really didn't even like. Let's be honest, because she didn't even really sample the song. She didn't even have to really give credit to like Pharrell and them. But Beyonce is always giving credit and putting people on. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Always. Even
And
like
Beyonce digs people up out of the like
Gutter.
ground. Like
Yes,
people we don't even know
seriously.
about.
Exactly. And we'll bring them on to like make sure they're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she really has no problem giving you your credit or, trying to put you on at all. At all. And she doesn't have to because she's there. She doesn't
Yeah.
have to. But she does it. Because I think she genuinely wants people to win, but like, Kellis, there was nothing for her to reach out to you two. You know what I mean? There was really nothing for her to reach out to you for. Mind you, she wasn't reaching out. I'm pretty sure it was her lawyers.
Exactly. I was like, Beyonce, to me, Beyonce is not picking up the phone for anybody. That's what she pays people to do, actually. Like at this point in her
she
life.
doesn't have to. Deserves not to. She's worked hard in her career.
She really does not have to. There's no legal recourse behind it for her. There's nothing to discuss. Yes, I mean, if Beyonce was just gonna really go the extra mile, she could have been like, "Hey, girl, what's up?" Blah blah. But I'm like, I don't think she probably wasn't that invested in it. I mean, she created a whole album. That's a lot of work. She probably was not invested enough in that 2 seconds, unfortunate 2 or 3 seconds of a song, or however long it was, to reach out to you personally and like ask you.
Seriously,
you know what I mean?
and like literally for what? For you to just be like, oh yeah, let's use that song. You really didn't have to find it, okay? So it really, to me, would have been a waste of breath, regardless of formality or common decency, because you owe no one decency at all, right? I'm sure if Kellis was sampling, somebody else's song, are you going to go ask for decency, or are you going to get your lawyers to get involved? Exactly. I mean, it's just like anything else to do with the law. You're not, if you don't have to do it and you can pay somebody to do it, that's 9 times out of 10 what you're going to do, especially when it comes to legal things that need to be taken care of legally. That's what a lawyer's for.
I think this is the way Clout should have played it. She should have, when she found out about the song, being sampled, she should have been like, first off, happy. Number one. Number two, she should have, she could have reached out to Beyonce's team and been like, "Hey, I know you sampled this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you want to like collab sometime, please let me know. I'm interested," or even like performance dates or whatever. Like, that's the way she really should have played this, because at that point, actually, then you gain a good bit. Like, exactly. This was an opportunity for you to gain.
I mean, to me, that would have been a smart thing to do. But I mean, like, and the worst thing you could have done was get on social media and cause this scene. Because I promise you, Beyonce is not going to work with you ever. And I promise you, here's the thing, because you don't own the rights to the music, she'll sample your stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I don't know, like, obviously nobody really knows Beyonce personally besides those who are close to her. But, like, if it was me, I would have been petty and be like, let me find another one. Because you really tried it. You really tried it. Because you don't own the rights to this song. I didn't have to go through you. I owe you nothing. Just like you owe me nothing. Because if that's the case, then you can reach out to me and be like, hey, you sampled my song. But you didn't do that. You went to social media. Which we all know, Beyonce does not entertain, for one. For two, the Beehive will be on that behind. The Beehive is not having this, by the way. And don't let Solange get involved. Don't do that. Because Solange, she is not as, she don't feel like, I mean, she doesn't have to be as classy as Beyonce because she's Solange, right? Beyonce, Solange is about that life. So keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah. It's just, it's wild.
It's very pathetic, honestly.
Something else I learned too, also, which is why this Kelly situation, I think, is coming out so close to the album release, is apparently Beyonce's lawyers didn't really necessarily inform the people she's sampling, or like the whatever. They didn't know, probably due to NDAs, they didn't know exactly that they were signing to Beyonce exactly. Like, the lawyers would just approach and be like, "Can we use the sound?" And they didn't. I don't know if they told the artist exactly who the person was using it.
You don't have to, though.
And she didn't have to. She absolutely did not have to. But like, so I think they didn't know, and I know that because I don't know if you know who T.S. Madison is, but another like internet personality sampled on a Beyonce song as well, or interpolated, whichever one, on the album as well. And he was saying, or she was saying, like, I just signed a contract saying like, oh, so and so wants to use, or somebody wants to attain the rights to use your music for XYZ, to use the sound you created. And they were like, okay, sure, there's a check, got it. But didn't find out till later it was signed to Parkland Entertainment, which is Beyonce's company. So it was like, oh, this is Beyonce.
Yeah,
so
maybe that's why.
I necessarily know either until much later, probably until what, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's fine and dandy, but you still do not, as far as Kellis is concerned, you still don't act that way whether you just found out or not, right?
I agree.
It don't make no sense to me, because at the end of the day, like, especially for Kellis, like that individual, he had to sign that document because he had the rights to that particular thing, right?
T.S.
Kellis
Madison.
doesn't even have the rights.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me. Why are you upset? You don't even have the rights to sign. So of course it's not going to come to you. Mind you, these lawyers can't even disclose who they're working for, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Exactly.
So why are you acting like this? And you know that Beyonce always does things through legal, people. I've never heard anything of Beyonce talking about anybody's drama or her own, ever.
Exactly. Also, I just want to go back and say T.S. Madison is woman, transgender woman. So I just want to make sure we say she.
Got it.
Sorry.
She.
And that's okay. Just because people come to you, it's she.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sure who this individual is, but she. I correct myself.
T.S. Madison's like an internet personality, and that's how I started to figure out a little bit more about the Kelly situation, because I was like, well, if that's how it happened for her, then that might be how it happened also for Kellis. Is like they really didn't know. But again, like you said, how would Kellis know? Because you're not even the person you're not even the channel they would go through.
Yeah.
It's really off.
Fact. And mind you, it's not Beyonce coming to you. It was her lawyers, like the people who handle.
And they were probably
all
under
her legal things
and stuff. Like,
I'm sure they cannot disclose.
They were not trying to say this is for the Beyonce album. There again, like he said, the only reason they even knew was because Parkland Entertainment was the name, and that's associated with Beyonce. So Beyonce was never even.
She was not contacting you.
Yeah, I'm sure the artists who were sampled didn't really even find out until the album dropped. Like, oh,
right. I'm gonna say Beyonce loves to do things in secret, honey. I'm surprised anybody knew. Yeah, except for her, her close ones. But
exactly. So
please go sit down, like, ma'am. And the thing is too that another thing that I don't like about this is she keeps carrying it on. Like, you're doing too much. Like, okay, say your piece and move on. But she continues to do this. Like, ma'am, take several seats. You're really doing the most.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's exhausting because you're also in the wrong. Like,
yeah,
And
like I said, if I could tell it was like milkshake, then I'd be like, okay, maybe. Like, but I can't even tell it's milkshakes, honey. And I've like listened to it several times now, and I'm like, anybody could have made that. Anybody.
I mean, there's a valid argument when you say like big artists do steal from smaller artists. That does happen, and we're not acting like that doesn't happen. But this was not a case of that
at all. And Beyonce did give credit to those who need to be credited. So
yeah, and Beyonce has been in the industry enough to probably have been in some like crappy contract at some point in her life to know what the game really is about, and to know to own your stuff, because that's where that's where you have a control, you know what I mean?
Okay. And the thing is, like, if she would have told Kellis, right? So hypothetically, if she would have been like, Kellis, I'm going to use your sample on the... Beyonce cannot risk you leaking her stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Beyonce has a whole empire, essentially, for herself for a reason. That's why no one knew. Everybody had to sign NDAs, for one. No one knew that they were going to be on this album until this album dropped.
Yeah. That's probably why, like you said, she might have a very specific reason for not reaching out to artists specifically.
Exactly.
Because that runs the risk seriously of somebody saying something to their fans or followers, whatever, saying something to somebody, and then it's blown that they're like working with Beyonce.
Exactly. That jeopardizes her business. Like, and that's what I'm like, was also another thing that's frustrating about Kellis too, is like, you're not even trying to see it from the other side. You're not even trying to see this from like a business standpoint. You're not even trying to see this from, Beyonce has more than just a music brand. She has a record label that she's, maintaining. She has other things that are going on, business wise. And all you see this is from us because she didn't let you know and call you personally. Stop acting like a freaking child, please. This is not high school. This is real life. And you're like 40-something years old acting like this.
Yeah. It really, to me, it almost sounds like she has more of a problem with the Neptunes.
I mean, I think so too, but even the Neptunes owe you nothing because all you are, literally, I just looked it up on that, on the credits on this album that Milkshakes is on. All it says is performer. Don't say lyricists. Don't say composers. None of that. Not even lyricists. Performer. You literally just use the words that they wrote and sung it for them. Yep. So stay in a performer's lane. That's all you got to do, baby girl. That's all you gotta do. And come up with your next hit and stop worrying about Beyonce. Come up with your own stuff.
Exactly. I think, that's something I think is such a misnomer about the record industry too, specifically, is that people really think because the performer's face is out there that they are the ones who own the material. They're the ones
Not at
who
all.
are making this work, who have the intellectual property. And that's really not how it works. 9 times out of 10, it's some old guy in the back who doesn't who doesn't have the appearance, who doesn't have the appeal, who is owner of this music. And they put the performer out there because they have the talent, but the talent is vastly different than owning these things.
For sure.
And that's the difference between somebody like a Kellis or a Khalees and a Beyonce. Beyonce might be the
Beyonce own
talent,
hers.
but Beyonce is also, the owner of this material. So when Beyonce is putting this out there, it's under her name, her record label.
Exactly. And that's why she has more to protect and more to lose. And it's like, Kellis, you have nothing to lose because it wasn't yours in the first place. So stop, please. Please stop.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the game is played, like
facts.
And I wish this is just so important. It's so important as an artist to own your work, because again, then you have less of these issues come up, hopefully. Or maybe you just have to be more liable for when these issues do come up. But it's you're always in a better position as the owner versus, the performer. Let's just say that.
I agree with that for sure. I do agree with that. And I mean, I think, let this be a lesson to those who can receive the lesson, right? But the music industry is, I think is well misunderstood too. Like Courtney said, like a lot of you think because I sung this or whoever sung it, they own the rights to it. And that's just not the case. There's so many other intricate parts to it, like so many other intricate parts where usually the performer usually has no rights to the song. Even the record labels usually have more rights than the artist itself. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, the performer is the face that they're pushing. The performer is almost the product that they're pushing out there and selling. And that's what makes it feel very predatory. And and that is a comment in and of itself. That is valid. But when you want to have that conversation in the appropriate context.
Yeah.
Because as far as it relates to the Beyonce situation, Beyonce played her cards right.
Yeah.
And she stands to reap the benefits from it, because that's what she does. That's what she did. That's what she does.
And there's nothing you can really say about that. Not handling it. So
yeah,
I really hope.
At one point in Beyonce's career, she was signed to record labels, and I'm sure she got burned too, because the whole thing is predatory. That's the truth. It is, but. You get burned, and then you don't put your hand back in the fire.
Exactly. So, Kellis, please work on that next hit, so we don't have to run through this, and make sure you own it.
Milkshake Thank you. Too? Strawberry milkshake.
Maybe we should get chocolate. You know what's disheartening about this is
banana split.
Facts. Kellis is an African American female. Like, here we go again, tearing down another Black woman because you feel like your feelings got hurt and you didn't get a pat on the back. We really have. Kellis needs to listen to our healing episodes. Like,
yes,
heal. Stop coping to survive. Yeah. And don't let that trauma stop you from your blessings. You know what I mean? Like, this really could have been an opportunity for her, and it's like, ma'am, that just went down the drain. That just went down the drain. So,
well, Beyonce's gonna stay winning per always, and you just secured that. So,
yep, exactly. You just brought more drama I'm sure Beyonce doesn't want her album to sell from drama, but you just brought more notoriety and more listens and more streams. So
more attention. Yep. Well, that was a great talk. I'm glad we talked a little bit about the album, but also the industry surrounding the album, as well as just different things connected to this new work that is coming out. And I think it was a really great conversation. I'm glad we could have it. Glad we could dissect. We're definitely looking forward to Act 2 and 3 for sure. So hopefully those parts will definitely be more something we personally feel connected to. I'll say that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we'll probably do the following albums as well and releases. So just stay up with us on that. So yeah, we hope you enjoy.
Auntie
We hope,
Bay. Not
yeah.
auntie. Is Beyonce an auntie? She's cousin. She's like cousin Beyonce to me.
I don't know, because she's like in her 40s now. Like, she's older.
Yeah, 40s isn't old.
I know it's not old, but I'm just saying, like, an aunt?
No, she's a cousin.
I think she should be an aunt, though. Like 40? You're
I
definitely
think
an
she
aunt
should
at
be a
40.
cousin.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Cousin.
Well, I mean, okay, if I was hanging out with Beyonce, she would definitely feel like an older cousin to me. Maybe because
I always
I'm
feel
not.
like she's my aunt.
I don't really behave like a 20-something-year-old, so maybe that's why she was there for cousin.
Well, that's my friend then.
Yeah.
Because if
Me and
that's the
Beyonce,
case.
I actually feel like Beyonce and I would get along. I know
There we go.
everybody says that. Everyone's like, I would be besties with Beyonce. And I'm like, honestly, I feel like Beyonce and I would vibe over like talking about artwork because I think we're both very invested in like being good artists. You know, not being ethically good artists as well as being as conceptually sound as possible. So I think I would actually like really have a good conversation with Beyonce.
Yeah, I know. I think she's like, she would be interesting to like talk with and get like, not
She's
ideas from, but just because I feel like obviously we only hear her music. We don't like hear much from her per se. But I feel like she, like the little things that she does say or does, like she's very fun and like, you know, kind of witty.
She's very, especially for black women coming from the South. She feels like an older cousin to me because I know that not genre. I know that lifestyle, and I know what she's saying, how she's saying, why she does the things she does.
Yeah.
I know that because that would have been like an older cousin for me, or it would have been. It's like even the person I'm sort of evolving into now is like an older, not older, but like a black woman of a certain age range, you know?
100%. Yeah, even like some of the experiences she's talking about, I'm like, yup, I know all about that. So it's very like relatable, like especially like you said, coming from the South, because there's a lot of references are to the South. So
yeah, and I think her. Beyonce could be a family member. Really, she really could be a family member for a lot of black women, especially Southern black women. I don't know how other people. Yeah, I don't know how other people relate to her, but when I hear Beyonce even speak, I like that's my cousin. Like I feel like that would be like my cousin. You know? I really do.
So all
like,
my pets, I let them know that Beyonce is their auntie. So
yeah,
I guess she is my
cousin. It's almost like the cousin I don't ever speak to, but like when we do, it's like always a great time.
When we link up,
yes.
Yes.
So I wonder what somebody who's non-black, non-Southern, how they connect to Beyonce, because my connection to Beyonce is so like she's a celebrity, but it feels so intimate to me. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even though I know nothing about her.
Yeah, though I've never met Beyonce, but she feels just because I know that experience. It feels intimate to me. It feels close. You know.
I feel that though. No, I agree. I definitely feel like there's like a connection that's, let's be clear, not really there. But I think that's a reason why she like does very well with like sales and like getting her music out there, is because she has that ability to relate to a lot of people. I think even for people who are not necessarily like African American females and know that experience as a whole, you're at least able to relate to Beyonce, and maybe you're from the South, or just being like a woman and being empowered, right? Or just you like the dance, or you like a good bop. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that you can relate to Beyonce on. So
maybe Southern black women are just relatable to all. I really do have this theory that like Southern black women, Southern American black women are just like, I don't want to say like not a voice of reason quite, but I do feel like what I've noticed is stepping into different spaces. Southern black women are always that sort of grounding voice and always the warm voice. Always the like the person people really can like relate. Like they say what other people are thinking and don't want to say, and people connect to that.
Facts. Yeah, no, I totally agree, because I have this this older lady that works with me. I'm like the youngest in my little office space, and so there's an older lady that works with me, and like it's just like I do not know much about this individual, but like the respect that I have for her, the like almost admiration that I have for her as an older Black woman, and the things that she says, I'm like, oh my God, like that's legit. You know what I mean? Like
It just
I put
makes
so
sense.
much. Yeah, it like makes sense.
Yeah.
I put so much trust into her and the value into things that she says that, and I don't even really know her, outside of like working together or whatever. But I definitely agree with that. Like it's just like something
It's
about
like
an
something
older African
about our,
American
I just
woman.
think it's something about the experience, and
Yeah.
I think it's because we exist at the bottom of the totem pole most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I really think some people, if they had to choose a demographic of people to like put their livelihood in life, like the life in the hands of, like they would choose a Black woman. Some people would be
Oh,
like,
for
I'm really
sure.
choosing this person over XYZ to make
For
sure I
sure.
come out alive and
Oh,
fed.
1000%.
Like, you
Yeah.
know,
1000% any day. And I
yeah.
mean, it doesn't even have to be somebody that I like personally know. Like it could literally be not a rando, but like, maybe not someone that I'm like the closest with or whatever. But for the most part, they usually have some bigger interest in like everybody's success. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
we all here to win.
exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That was our talk on Renaissance. We hope you guys either like the album, or if you didn't love it as much, that you still found some sort of way to connect to it, as I think we all do with Beyonce's work.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking forward, like we were saying, to part two and act two, act three, so we
Mm-hmm.
can see what else Beyonce has to drop on us. I want an R&B album. Like, I just want Beyonce to really get back to R&B, but that's me.
Honestly, I just want something that's like that gives me that feel of like not old Beyonce, because I like Beyonce always reinvents herself, but just something that's more like that's
Old
just more
Beyonce,
indicative of like her previous albums.
aka old Beyonce.
Yeah, sure.
Beyonce '06.
I do understand that new like artists like to dibble and dabble into new things, but just this was not the dabble that I could listen to. So.
Nah, I get you.
But like you said, this album just wasn't for me, and that's okay. I don't think I was the target audience.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. We hope to see you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.